Many years ago, the United Kingdom decided that they wanted to part ways with the EU because they felt they were being taken advantage of, or rather, they were contributing more than other countries. So they decided and were very convinced and confident in the conclusion that they would be better off dehisced from the European Union than being a member of the European Union. And so they voted, it went into voting, and they voted massively in favor of Brexit. When that happened, the British public began to show animosity. It was very subtle, but it was there, towards other European neighbors who were living and working in the United Kingdom. Many of them were literally powering the NHS. And they felt unwelcome in the United Kingdom. And those other European immigrants decided to return to their countries. They were Italian, Portuguese, Russian, Ukrainian, even some Greek nurses. And they decided to, Spanish nurses as well. They decided to return to their different countries. And that created a huge vacuum in the UK labour market, particularly in the NHS. And the UK became desperate. And by the way, Brexit was an economic blunder. It was an absolute economic havoc. And so they returned to their different countries, and the NHS took a big hit. The nurse to patient ratio tightened the more, and they didn't have enough people to take care of their aging population. By the way, the UK population is an aging population because there's a wide gap between the baby boomers who had a lot of kids, or I would say who had enough kids, and the millennials and the Gen Zs who, prefer abortions over having kids. And in the British society today, where men feel very, very discriminated against in the marital laws in such a way that, out of fear of parting with their hard-earned money and resources in the event of a divorce, they have decided, most of their young men, that they don't want to get married. You're wondering, what's the relationship between what I'm saying now and Brexit and the British economy? Just walk with me, okay? And so the younger generation are not getting married as much as before, previous generations. So they don't have a huge pool of young people. That's the problem. So most of the people who, powered various important aspects of the British economy are either retiring or already retired. They are seniors now. They're in need of welfare, which the British government is very, very unwilling to provide, or providing in piecemeals, rather. So there's a wide gap. There's a huge number of advanced and aging people, and a very small number of young people. Not enough to power very important aspects of the British economy and healthcare. So if all the immigrants vanished today, as the British people are clamoring for, the British labor market will almost collapse because they don't have enough people to take care of their sick people. So those who are clamoring for immigrants to return to their countries are very ignorant, if not stupid, and they are in delusion and do not understand how their own economy and labor market works. Now, this is not a pandering to radical, unfettered and unfiltered immigration, no. But people who came with work visas, who legitimately did things the right way and have been contributing immensely to the British economy. They're paying their taxes. The UK government is taking national insurance from their paychecks. They're contributing to retirement, and they're actively covering jobs that the British people would rather not do. Those people deserve their place in the UK, I think. Anyway, so particularly the NHS. The NHS took a big hit, and then now the UK desperately started looking for nurses and doctors, physiotherapists, radiographers from wherever they can find them. And so they started outsourcing those jobs to immigrants from China, immigrants from India, immigrants from Africa, and other immigrants from Europe who are willing to come back. Some of them made their return. There are some Chinese people. There are a lot of Filipinos, but there are mostly Indians. And the NHS targeted to hire 50,000 nurses over a few years. And I think they achieved that at some point. When they thought that the NHS was saturated with enough staff, they stopped. And I think at that time also they had exhausted their budget for that hiring spree. And then they stopped. Well, nurses and doctors and physiotherapists and radiographers and med lab scientists, even optometrists in the UK, have worked over a period of time and realized, realized that they are not moving upwards in career as much as they want to. There is inflation. The economy is almost asphyxiated, and cost of living is at all-time high, but wages are not going up, at least not going up enough to catch up with cost of living that has been trending upwards, literally skyrocketing. And so these healthcare professionals have now become very wary and concerned. And they are also fully aware that there are other places where they can be rewarded more for the amazing job they do, coupled with the fact that the UK public are now very, very standoffish towards immigrants, even legal immigrants with work visas who literally power their healthcare. And so these immigrants do not feel very welcome now as they used to. And a huge number of them are beginning to go elsewhere, Canada, Australia, some are even going to the US. And the NHS has realized that they've not been able to retain many of the people they hired. So they hired massively, but retention is harder than recruitment, because you have to incentivize the job so much that they would remain and want to, take the long ride in career with you. And these workers genuinely have not seen that, so they're looking elsewhere. They don't feel very welcome, they don't feel very supported, they don't feel compensated enough for the job they do. So they are beginning to look elsewhere, coupled with the fact that the British government has now decided that it's going to take 10 years before these workers, can obtain ILR, indefinite leave to remain. Whereas in countries like Canada and the US, in barely 1 year, a nurse immigrant can obtain the equivalent of ILR. So what's the point? Why spend 10 years in the UK to, 10 years literally walking on your toes to obtain something you can obtain in 1 year in another country plus better pay? So the UK is losing this battle of retention of staff, and they don't realize it. They're still delusional about it. By the time they realize it, it might be too late, and then another wave of desperation will ensue, and then they will start scampering again for workers from across the world. I see that happening again. But let's get to the purpose, the ultimate purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to encourage nurses who are outside of the UK now, or who are interested in coming to the UK. And currently the doors are shut, but just hold on, those doors are going to blow open Because trust me, many nurses are going to leave the UK if the things that are going on now continues and the clamp down on legal immigration continues. They are going to bleed a lot of workers into other countries, and by the time they know it, it will be too late. There are many nurses in the UK that are on the pipeline to move to other countries. They're just resignations waiting to happen. When those resignation letters come in, emails come in, the NHS will realize what it has done to itself, and they will either do something to retain the ones they have, but it will still come down to hiring more people. So if you are anywhere in Africa, in Asia, and you are angling to move to the UK, well, get that IELTS written, get that CBT written, hold it, wait. Those doors are going to blow open. Trust me, they will. I wish you all the best.